This is the story of Britpop. In the early 1990s, the British music press had a lot of power, and with that power, they created the greatest musical campaign since the 60s called Britpop. Okay, I'm just joking, but the truth is actually not too far away. It might be unthinkable with today's state of music journalism, but in the 1990s, music magazines such as MME, Melody Maker, Q, and Select used to hold much power over the public opinion on the popular music of the day. They were the Anthony Fantano of a bygone era. Of course, back then there were no music streaming platforms such as Spotify, and the only way to learn about new music was to constantly listen to the radio in the hope that something interesting would play, or pick up a music magazine, read the reviews, and purchase the album that you imagined you liked the most. If you examine closely, you will realize that the early Britpop bands had very little in common, apart from the fact that they are all guitar based. Blur's first album, Leisure, was very much influenced by the Manchester indie dance scene. Suede, when they first arrived, were very much obsessed with glam rock and were clearly infatuated with David Bowie, both in terms of musical style and image. Oasis, on the other hand, were heavily influenced by the Beatles and Rolling Stones. However, a very enterprising journalist by the name of Stuart Maconie coined the term Britpop as a UK response to the emerging grunge scenes from America, and thus Britpop is born. And if you want to get into the halcyon days of Britpop, here are the 5 albums to get you started. Okay, so the first album that come to mind would be obviously Park Life by Blur. So Blur first came into prominence with the very baggy inspired singles She Is So High and There's No Other Way. So while the tracks were somewhat delightful, unfortunately for them it was released in the final days of the Manchester scene, and the music press reception for their debut album Leisure was mixed at best. So David Albarn had even publicly expressed distaste for the album and claimed that Blur was just capitalizing on a popular sound at the time. So by the time the sophomore album Modern Life is Rubbish came around, the band had pretty much jettisoned the baggy sound for music that were influenced more by classic British bands such as the Kings. But it wasn't until 1994's Park Life that Blur would finally come into their own. Stylistically, the music spanned a lot of genres, from new wave to synth pop, and was largely a reaction to the heavy and depressing grunge sound of the US. The lyrics often have a cheeky and sarcastic take on modern English life, which was refreshing at the time of release. Frankly, when I first heard Girls and Boys and Park Life back in 1994, I wasn't quite sure what to make of it, since the music I had listened to up to that point was serious rock music by bands such as Nirvana and like Alice in Chains. However, if Blur wanted to provide a stark contrast to the depressing music the Americans were making, they certainly succeeded with the album. So other standout tracks included End of a Century, To the End, and Magic America. So time have proven that Damon Albarn is relatively versatile as a musician, having dabbled in styles as diverse as art rock, hip hop, electronic, and world music, both in Blur, as well as his many other projects such as Gorillaz and The Good, The Bad, and The Queen. If we are discussing Blur, it is inevitable that we will discuss their arch rival Oasis, especially all the nonsense surrounding the country house roll with it Britpop showdown of 1995. But before Oasis became the ultimate adversary of Blur, Damon Albarn was also beefing with Brad Anderson of Suede, partly because the two bands were trying to outdo each other in terms of gaining public mindshare, but mostly because Albarn was dating Anderson's ex-girlfriend, Justine Frischman of Elastica, at the time. So despite Albarn getting the girl, I do think that Suede did win out musically because arguably they delivered the magnum opus of the Britpop era, and I'm of course talking about 1995's Dogman Star. In the early years of Sweet, David Bowie was a very big influence. So not only did the band adopted the glam rock sound for a newer audience in the 90s, they were also very much purveyors of the fluid androgyny images of Bowie. Whether intentional or not, Sweet's first two albums, the self-titled Sweet and Dogman Star, were very much at odds with the laddish, cool Britannia imagery of other prominent Britpop bands at the time. However, it was this experimental streak that made the album a daring and memorable one that was in stark contrast to the rest of the fam. Tracks such as We Are the Pigs, The Wild Ones, and Heroin were desolate, fragile, and romantic, all at the same time. It was a feat that you would not expect a band like, say, Oasis to be able to pull off. Dogman Star was such an artistic pick for Sweet. It actually killed the commercial momentum of the band and was widely considered a commercial failure, which was a shame since the band's response was to return with the more conventionally poppier Coming Up. Unlike Blur and Sweet, who were comparatively new to the British music scene when Britpop came into prominence, Pop had already been around the block by the time they broke through into the mainstream with the critically acclaimed Different Class, their fifth album. Pop biggest hit to date was Common People, a satirical song about rich tourists trying to experience the lifestyle of the common people. While Different Class was a great album in its own right, in my opinion, the best album Pop ever recorded was the 1998's This Is Hardcore. By 1998, Britpop was already falling out of favor with the British music press after the endless deluge of B-tier bands like Echo Belly and Sleeper. Perhaps that's the main reason for the music maturity on display here, embracing a more art rock approach that see the band slowing down some of the songs and letting them breathe. Tracks such as The Fear, A Little Soul, and the title track all have a tender beauty, balanced with a sad sense of desperation and resignation that accompany the passing of time. Perhaps Jarvis Cocker realized that his time in the limelight was running out, as the Fickle music press continued its search for the next big thing. But who can blame him? I'm sure we can all relate to this feeling of ennui. Obviously, no discussion of Britpop would be complete without a look at its biggest band, Oasis. To be honest, when I first heard Oasis on the second single, Shaker Maker, I was somewhat repulsed by Liam Gallagher's snarling vocals. So why is this man snarling at me? I thought. More importantly, why is the band ripping off the Coca-Cola commercial? However, like a fungal infection, if you give it enough time and warm up to it, it will grow on you. So, despite the pointless battle with Blur over the Britpop crown in 1995, it was clear that the two bands could not be any more different. Oasis won the war when their second album, What's the Story, Morning Glory, crowns Blur's Great Escape in terms of sales. It was easy to see why. So Oasis songs have an immediate appeal due to their clear Beatles and Rolling Stones influences. And this is most apparent on their debut album, Definitely Maybe. The singers Live Forever and Cigarettes and Alcohol are excellent example of Noel Gallagher's knack for classic hooks and Gallagher's overflowing swagger. Their subsequent American success was also a testament to the fact that Oasis was a closer fit to Americans' idea of classical rock, as opposed to the more arty sway or the more poppy Blur or pop. Definitely, maybe it remains Oasis' best album, simply because while the follow-up albums were decent, they were merely rehashing the same formula, albeit with lesser enthusiasm. Okay, so far we have covered all the big four bands of the Britpop era. For something different, let's look at the final album in the Britpop starter pack. There are obviously a lot of great bands such as Supergrass, Ash, or the Super Furry Animals, but there are few that make use of the post-punk sound as part of their sonic template. So I'm of course talking about Elastica and their self-titled album. Okay, so long before they were embroiled in the claims of pressurizing bands like Wire or the Stranglers, there were a lot of excitement surrounding Elastica. It was easy to see why. Tracks like Line Up, Connection, and Waking Up were simultaneously visceral, exciting, and melodic, and harken back to the best of the post-punk era. It was also a bonus that band was easy on the eye, with the three members all adopting the pixie haircut made famous by Winona Ryder in the 90s, and looking like art punk versions of the actress. Unfortunately, the party didn't last long. When the band attempted a more experimental approach on the second album, The Minas, by moving away from the familiar sound of the first album, which gave them all the legal troubles, fans were disappointed. So sales tanked, and the band dissolved shortly after. So the heydays of Britpop actually lasted only a few years in the mid 90s. Like many other music movements, it was eventually killed off by having too many lackluster bands jumping on the bandwagon. So for every great band that pioneered the movement, there will be a trove of like so-so bands like Shed Seven and Sleeper chiming in. Nevertheless, for kids who grew up in the 90s, Britpop was a moment in time that was supremely fun and highlighted the fact that rock music did not have to be real and gritty all the time to be influential. Anyway, if you'd like to check out the iconic tracks of Britpop, do check out my playlist in the description of the video below. Okay, thank you for listening.